Buenas. Hombre, yo conectaría ya con
Sí.
Nueva York, con Avi. Así nos va escuchando en su presentación, ¿no? Ya está, gracias. Muy amable.
I'm here.
Gracias. Hi, Avi. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Avi, just let me introduce you in Spanish, okay? 30
Sure.
seconds, please. Avi Savar es uno de los grandes tipos que encontramos en el mundo de la comunicación. Es un gran tipo, gran tipo. Presidente del jurado de Cannes en la primera edición de Branded Content, fundador, presidente de Big Fuel, una de las empresas que está creciendo en todos los sentidos. Probablemente una de las personas que más veces haya triunfado y, como antes hablábamos con la gente de Arena, también más conozca el fracaso y más haya aprendido de él, ¿no? Estuvo el año pasado aquí con nosotros. Parece ser que acertamos, porque 10 meses después era proclamado presidente del primer jurado de Branded Content. Tenía que estar aquí, él se comprometió a venir aquí y empezaremos preguntándole cómo se encuentra, ya que por cuestiones físicas no nos ha podido visitar. Quería estar en Vitoria, quería pasar un fin de semana con nosotros y disfrutar de esta fiesta del Branded Content. Por lo tanto, lo primero que os voy a preguntar es, ¿cómo te encuentras, Avi? How do you feel, Avi?
I'm doing better. Thank you for asking. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. I was very much looking forward to the trip, but sadly, doctor's orders. I have to stay here. So I'm thankful that we could connect through modern technology, and through my headset I can hear you guys, and hopefully we won't miss a beat. And I have a nice, simple, but hopefully good presentation for you guys, and I'm excited to be a part of the conference again for the second time. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, Avi. We have 30 minutes for the presentation, okay? After that, I'm sure there are going to be a lot of questions. I'm going to try to manage all that, okay? So please, you can start, okay? We are yours.
Okay.
Thanks.
Terrific. Cool. So thank you again. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be asked to come back. And I thought, excuse me if I cough, I'm still a little under the weather, but I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to share with you some of our experiences. Mark and I had the pleasure of sharing the responsibility at Cannes to be, the first ever jury at this really prestigious event and award. And so I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Avi Savar. I am the founder and chief creative officer of Big Fuel. And Big Fuel, for those of you that don't know, we are a branded content and social media agency based in the United States. We are arguably one of the largest social and content agencies in the world. Recently, not so recently anymore, about a little over a year ago, we were acquired by Publicis, which is the third largest advertising holding company in the world. And as part of that relationship, we've managed to expand into new markets and grow our service offerings in pretty remarkable ways. So we work with some big brands. Our bigger clients are T-Mobile, Starwood, Sheridan, among others. We've done business with General Motors, and most recently, now we recently just won some business from Pepsi. So we work with very big brands and help them navigate the world of engagement, content marketing, and predominantly social media. Because the world of social and the world of content, in my opinion, are intertwined today in the ways that consumers are engaging with brands and also pulling in content. So we cannot we can't argue with the power of social media, certainly as we think about content. So as I said, I had the privilege really of chairing and running the first ever branded content and entertainment jury at the Cannes Lion Awards this past summer. And I was joined with a panel of some heavy hitters across the world. As you can see, standing there to my right is Mark. We had a terrific time and really had the opportunity to experience and witness some of the best work in the space. For those of you that don't know about Cannes, it's the largest gathering of advertising professionals, designers, digital innovators, and marketing professionals in the world. Over 9,000 people from over 90 countries come to France to celebrate creativity and communications, and really spend the week talking about and networking around the issues that we're faced with in and around marketing and communications. It's based in one of the most beautiful settings that you could experience, with some of the most incredible speakers. As you can see there, we had we got to see President Clinton speak. He was probably the only speaker that we got to see, because for the whole week, as the jury, we were not on the beach. We were sitting in a room, a black room, a dark black room, watching lots and lots of content. And over 5 days, the jury reviewed a number of entries over the time frame. There was over 800 entries into this brand new branded content entertainment category, broken down by 12 different subcategories like events and music and digital, fiction, nonfiction, and we really saw what was to be the best work in the space. And from that, we had the privilege of sharing with the world the creme de la creme, the absolute best in branded content and entertainment. And I walked away pretty inspired by what we saw, and felt like it was a huge milestone for the branded content and entertainment space, which I've been a part of for over a decade, and have been talking with brands about the power of content for a very long time. And I was thrilled to be part of the experience and share the stage with 16 other jury members from across the globe. And we really set, I think, the standard for what should make the best branded content. And I wanted to share with you what we looked for. I wanted to share with you 4 very simple rules that before we started as a jury, we agreed were fundamental in the development and creation of branded content, and really what makes award-winning work. And the first thing that we said was, the number one rule, the absolute most important is, was this work relevant to the audience? We are talking about content, in fact, not so much advertising. And so, if you were at this conference last year, you heard me talk about people stories versus product stories, and advertising really being a medium to drive product stories, and content being a medium to drive people stories, to connect with audiences. And so first and foremost, in the business of content, we need to be relevant to the audience that we're trying to talk to. If we're talking to moms, then we need to understand the needs and the emotional mindset of what mom is going through in order to produce content that meets her needs and that connects with her. And so as a result of that, we need to be relevant to her. Also, because we're in the business of marketing, we need to be relevant to the brand, because this is branded content. It's not just content. We're not making shows that are brought to us by publishers. This is the business of communications and brand communications, and so it is important and critical that not only do we deliver people stories, but that we connect those people stories back to product. So if a brand is to get involved with a piece of content, or a brand is to sponsor or fund content, how is the brand being integrated, and how is it relevant to the brand, and is it natural? Third, this is pretty self-explanatory. It's was this content inspiring or engaging? And I think for the members of the jury, this was an easy one because we knew when we saw it. It was we'd see a piece of work, and if you wished and that you were the one who made it, then you knew that it was inspiring and engaging because of that jealousy. So we were looking for the best and most creative work possible. And the fourth rule is, did it drive a meaningful business outcome? Okay, and this is important because content creators typically forget that this is the business of marketing, and marketing is about selling product or driving a business result. And again, if you heard me speak last year, I talked about this a lot because what tends to happen in the world of branded content is we get really great producers and content creators who want to come out and find funding for their programming, and they go to brands to try to fund it, and they wonder why the brand isn't writing the check. And in order for the brand to write the check, we need to make sure we understand what the brand is trying to accomplish. What are the what I call the business mandates? Are we trying to sell a product? Are we trying to change their reputation? Are we trying to connect to a new consumer group? Are we trying to launch a new product and generate awareness? So from a business standpoint, it is critical that the outcome is factored into the work. So those are our four key areas that we focused on, and we tried to keep it simple, and I think those four really set the standard in terms of what drives successful branded content. Now, I also wanted to talk a little bit about some of the winners. And I know Mark may have already showed you some work that we looked at, and I'm going to show you some more because really, how often do we get the opportunity to be at a conference about branded content when you have two members of the first jury at Cannes on the branded content jury? So we saw it all. We saw the best, and frankly, we saw not so good stuff. And I wanted to share with you some work that stood out for me personally, and if you know anything about Cannes and what we did, you know that we awarded a brand named Chipotle with the Grand Prix award, and I'm not going to talk about that campaign other than to say the reason that we selected Chipotle, and I think Mark is going to show you the case if he hasn't already, is because that's a brand that used content in all aspects of marketing. From a strategic standpoint, they showed us and proved that you can build a brand using content. They used content marketing tactics in music, in games, in video, and so we awarded that brand the #1 award, the Grand Prix, because of that. What I wanted to show you were more tactical executions, individual pieces of content that were successful and that stood out to us, and talk about why they were successful. So the first piece of content that I want to talk about, it really shows us that the way we think about content is changing. Allowing users, audience members, to participate in the making of and the experience of content is so important today. We live in a digitally connected, socially connected world. Content is shared in various ways, and by allowing users to participate, we give them something that is valuable. We give them a reason to experience the content, to engage with us. And oftentimes, this is the tricky part. As content creators, we like to be in control. We like to script the content. We like to produce the content. We like to make sure that it is exactly what our vision is. And in today's world, we have to let go a little bit. We have to show our users that we understand them and that we trust them to be part of the process. And so I'm going to show you now a case study or a piece of content that really scored very highly at Cannes. Probably, I would say, the runner-up for the Grand Prix, the second most talked about piece of content in the jury room. was a case study for Carling beer. And not only did these guys allow their users to participate and give up content to their audience, but they gave up the content to an angry mob of people. People who cheered and cursed and shouted, and really they allowed these audience members to own the experience. And so I'm going to show you this video, and hopefully it will resonate with you as it did with us, and then I'll talk a little bit more about it. So if we could play the video, please.
South African men love two things: soccer and Carling Black Label. It's South Africa's biggest beer. And when soccer fans crack open a Carling Black Label and watch a game, chances are they're watching Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates. They're South Africa's biggest soccer clubs. But Carling Black Label noticed that the fans were getting more and more frustrated with the coaches. The coaches were coming from foreign countries like Brazil and Serbia, and they weren't as connected with the local flavor of South African soccer. The fans believed they knew their soccer clubs better than the coaches. All South African fans needed was a chance to prove themselves. So Carling Black Label gave the power to South African fans by creating the Carling Black Label Cup. The fans could pick the players for their team. The fans could make a live substitution on the day of the game. For the first time in football history, the fans could literally be the coach. We launched the campaign in TV, press, radio, and online with Dutch coach Ruud Gullit. Soccer fans immediately began voting for the players they wanted in the team by using the unique code under the cap of their Carling Black Label. The only thing a fan needed to cast a vote and become a coach was the one thing South African fans already had: a cell phone. We designed and built a unique mobile platform that gave the fans a chance to vote for the players they wanted. We built a website where fans could see their teams and share it on Facebook and Twitter. After 7 weeks of intense voting, the teams were announced, as selected by South African fans. The campaign ignited fierce debate in the media between fans, purists, players, and journalists. Even the coaches got involved. One thing wasn't up for debate: South African soccer fans loved the idea. We received over 10.5 million votes in 7 weeks. Tickets for the historic match set new records, with over 85,000 fans attending and millions more watching on TV. Thousands of fans used their phone during the match to vote for the live substitution. The Carling Black Label Facebook page grew by over 450%, and our following on Twitter grew by over 600%. Over 83 million rands worth of PR was generated for Carling Black Label. The game itself couldn't have played out better. The first Carling Black Label Cup was decided in a dramatic penalty shootout. And even though Orlando Pirates won and Kaizer Chiefs lost, South African fans all celebrated their own victory because, thanks to the Carling Black Label Cup, they finally had the chance to be the coach.
So you can see this is an example of content that would not exist without the user. It was an event. It was a promotion. It connected to the audience, connected the brand to the audience in such a meaningful and relevant way that, honestly, giving the audience the complete and full control over an event is almost historic. And I think this is a great example of very smart content creation that allows for user participation in a way that we have never seen before. And it just goes to show you that putting content in the hands of users can be just as effective as owning and producing the content yourself. So I wanted to show that as one great example. You know, this is an example that created content in sporting, but also created an event. You can see how it grew on their social channels. It drove a successful business outcome. It was relevant to the audience. It was relevant to the brand. And it was indeed inspiring and creative content. So all the rules that I laid out were met with this case study. The next thing I want to talk about is the use of technology. Okay, you know, I am by training, before I started my agency, I was a TV producer, and TV is a very strong medium for content, and as a storyteller, we like to write scripts, and we like to shoot video, and we like to um, showcase our ability to create content in a very linear fashion. And what I wanted to do was take a minute to show you how you can create content that is completely unscripted, that doesn't require a production crew, but actually uses technology as a means by which to create content. And embracing technology is becoming more and more important for content creators today because it's expected. Audiences, consumers today they're on their mobile phones, they're in social media, they're on their tablets. There's technology like RFID and QR codes and all this great stuff that should be used and embraced in creative, innovative, and inspiring ways. And so this next case study I'm going to show you I think it was based in South America, and it was for the brand Nike. And you're going to see content here that was created by technology, okay, not by producers and directors and writers, but the content itself was created by a very unique piece of technology. And I think it allowed users to connect with each other. So from social to mobile to outdoor, this is a really terrific example of how to use technology to create meaningful content. And so if we could play this video, please. Yeah. So you can see here, this was remarkable because in the old days, if you wanted to create content around an event like this, you'd make a documentary or you'd do photography. But here is an example of content that was created by literally runners stepping on a mat. And it's very smart in its use of technology, and each participant in the race basically created their own documentary around the experience they had by simply running the race. And I think this is a terrific example of how you can use technology to create original programming and content in a very unique way. And certainly the rules, relevant to the audience, absolutely, to the brand, absolutely. All the things we talked about, I think this hit a home run. The next thing I want to talk about is personalization. And in an age where really we are driving a lot of social interactions using content, the more you can make the content personal to the individual, the more success it likely will have, because it becomes about me, and then I get to share it, I get to talk about it with my network. And so personalization is a very important factor nowadays when we talk about the creation of content. So I'm going to show you another case study now from Intel, where literally the content that was created was a museum of me and my personal friends and my experiences. And so I would go into Facebook, and through my credentials, it would create a beautiful experience that was entirely personalized to me. So if we could play the video, please. So very inspired. I mean, you know, here's an example of a piece of content that you create once, and as people engage with it, it creates multiple versions of the same thing, and everybody gets their own unique version. Something that is, again, inspiring, but very, very personal. This is about me and my friends and my experiences and my photos, and as a result of that, it connects with me in a very emotional way. Which takes me to the last case I'm going to show you, and the notion that emotional connection is a fundamental part of content creation, and I think we can do that in a number of ways. I think all of these case studies that I just showed you in one way or another connect emotionally, but I wanted to show you something that that I fell in love with because of its simplicity in how it connected emotionally. This is a case study from a third world market, and it won a number of awards, both in outdoor, in PR, and also in branded content. Because of how impactful it was and the simplicity by which it connected emotionally with people. So if we can play this video, please. Yeah. Okay. No, that's okay. So you can see that, again, the simplicity of how it connected emotionally, and I think it was a very good example of an execution that had such a dramatic impact, and again, through its emotional connection to the audience, really delivered some dramatic results. So just to recap what I've been talking about in terms of rules that we adhered to. Number one, make sure you're relevant to the audience. Number two, relevant to the brand. Inspiring and engaging content is a given, but certainly criteria. And lastly, business outcome in terms of success for the brand is very, very important. And then in terms of thinking about kind of your content creation in the future, understanding and letting users participate in the process, leveraging and embracing new technology, making that content personal and connecting emotionally are key drivers for success, and I think allow us to think about the way we create content in very different ways from what we're used to. So again, thank you very much. I don't know if we have time for questions or not. I know I spent a lot of time because we played some videos, but I'll let the conference organizers take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Avi. Just a minute. ¿Podemos poner a Avi para despedirle? Yeah, just a minute, Avi, okay? I'm going to talk in Spanish. Por cuestiones de tiempo, vamos a, si hay alguna pregunta concreta, la voy a canalizar yo. Solamente una pregunta por si alguien quiere hacerla. Y vamos a agradecer a Avi porque, como sabéis, estamos en un cambio horario bastante importante. ¿Hay alguna pregunta por parte de alguien? No veo nada, ¿eh? O sea, no veo nada. Allí, Jesús, dime.
Yep.
Okay. Avi, I'm going to tell you, first of all, thank you again and congratulations because it's been very interesting. I'm going to say it in Spanish, which is going to be more easy and quickly. Sure. Risto y yo tenemos debilidad por tu forma de contar las cosas, por tu humildad. Deberías crear la primera universidad del branded content. Serías la persona perfecta para poder hacerlo. Nos ha encantado. Muchos de los temas que has tocado, los puntos, la emocionalidad, la incidencia, tecnología, afortunadamente has hecho casi un recap de lo que ha sido la mañana, que debo decirte que se notan muchas mejoras respecto al año pasado. Hay un punto en el que se ha hablado, es que nunca hablamos del coste de un contenido. Siempre hablamos de la repercusión. Nos trasladan desde el público el por qué. ¿Por qué generalmente hablamos de cuántos likes, cuántos views, cuántos fans, cuántos millones en medios conseguidos de forma gratuita, pero nunca hablamos de lo que cuestan las producciones?
So I think I lost you at the end there a little bit, but you want me to talk about the cost? Sure. Yeah. Well, look, the hardest part in our business is getting brands to write the check to fund the content, and to be able to prove, the value of what we're trying to accomplish to a brand is always the hardest part. But I think understanding, the key results that you're trying to accomplish before you create it. Last year, I talked about, how we get to, kind of what I called an engagement point, a strategic platform that connects, content to a brand. And as part of that, before you even come up with the idea, before you say, oh, I want to make, something about, runners or whatever you come up with, it's important that you start with understanding what the brand is trying to accomplish. Because if you know that the brand is looking to change their reputation because maybe something bad happened in the press, then you understand that reputation management is a critical driver. And so you build your content and your program around what the brand is trying to accomplish. And by starting with that, then you come up with the idea. It makes it a lot easier to sell your programs, because 9 out of 10 times in the business of content, as content creators, we come up with an idea. I want to do a show about, 3 friends who work at the same bar and they all go through their daily struggles. Well, if you have the idea already, and then you go to a brand and say, can you fund it? What you're trying to do then is backwards. You're trying to come back into what the brand is trying to accomplish, versus understanding that the brand is trying to do certain things and then coming up with the idea. That helps you get the budget, because what you're trying to do is solve the problems of the brand first and create the content second. We are very creative people as an industry. Content creators are very smart. They're very creative in their thinking, and what we have to turn into are problem solvers more than storytellers. We need to solve problems using story, and that is a way for us to get budgets, because all of a sudden, when you know what problem you're trying to solve, you can start building metrics around it, because likes, tweets, posts, video views, these are all metrics for success, and understanding which ones are the most valuable to a brand will help you in selling it. So I don't know if that really answered your question, but in terms of budgets, it's always a crapshoot, finding out and pricing and all the craziness that goes around with it. But I will tell you, if you start with the problem first, brands are more likely to listen, and brands are more likely to get involved, because they are trying to accomplish something, which is to sell their product.
Thanks, Avi. El año que viene le llamaremos cost users a esto. 7 de cada 8 personas no contestan con nada.
Yeah, exactly.
Un aplauso muy fuerte para Avi. Thanks, Avi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been great to have you here. Thank you. Thank you, Avi.